Hi, welcome back to Gimme 5 Friday. I'm here with Roberto Rivera.
What's up?
He came to us all the way from Wisconsin, right?
Yep, Chicago area.
Yeah, so you know that we've been doing our Stepping Out from Behind the Counter awards, and every week you get to see staff members that have received the awards and why they have that special recognition. And it all came from Roberto's story, and part of his story talks about when he was thinking about going to college. And correct me if I'm wrong, I get some details wrong, but you're thinking about going to college, so you went to the college admissions office, and you kept getting frustrated because they would just shove a bunch of papers at you, right? Mm-hmm. And then one day, a gal said, you know what, she put a little sign up, and she came out, she stepped out from behind the counter, and she said, look, I'm gonna help you do this. We're gonna get through this together.
Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy, yes.
Yeah, Sandy.
And so Mr. Lavender, our superintendent, was really inspired by that story, and so that's where the awards come from, and it's just been great because it really recognizes those people that don't just stay within the limitations of this is my job from 8 to 4 or whatever it is. It's that extra step, that extra caring, and you can maybe talk a little bit more about that. But so this is the guy. And
what's up, y'all?
Yes,
Big bro,
yes.
Dr. Rivera in the house.
Doctor.
And it's so wild because I graduated this year with my PhD.
Wow!
And although I got the plaque, thank you, in my office, and I got my master's degree, I got my bachelor's degree, I got my associate's degree, I feel the most proud of my associate's degree.
Yeah.
Because my associate's degree taught me that schooling was different than education, that I could learn in a way that was relevant to my life and to my community. Yeah. And, none of that would have begun if Sandy didn't take that little extra time to come around the counter. She said, come on, let's sit down. Yeah. And she's like, this is what you need to do. Everybody else do the paperwork. And I was carrying all the paperwork and having panic attacks. Yeah. And Sandy, she saw me. She saw me. She saw my potential. She saw I needed some support. And she just, without thinking, stepped around the counter and helped me out. So I'm so honored to hear that you have a stepping around the counter. Yes. And, Sandy is retired now, but I'm sure she knew that this award, essentially,
we're going to make sure to send this to Sandy.
It's in her honor.
Yes.
She'd be so blessed and so happy. So,
That's awesome. So it says, when I Googled you to find out a little bit more about you, even though I've met you before and I've heard you speak, it said you are an artist, an educator, and a change agent. What's a change agent?
Yeah, I think a change agent is someone who's able to see the current reality in a critical and creative way. Awesome. And realizes that the current reality is not set in stone. The current reality is like wet clay. Yeah. And a change agent, can tap into their power, can tap into the power of the community to change the current reality into something better. Awesome. It's a co-creative process. I've been talking a lot this week to the youth about reclaiming the power of their story. Yes. And if we can reclaim our personal stories, we can work together in reclaiming these communal stories. Yeah. And we can author new stories for our schools, our communities, and I believe even the world. Awesome.
So he's here visiting in Casa Grande this week. So yesterday you were at Casa Grande Union High School talking to over 2,000 students, right? 2,000. Today you were at Pace, and then tomorrow you're going to be at Vista.
I'll be at Vista.
So that's awesome. And I got to hear you speak. I'm going to go to Vista tomorrow and hear more of it. Yeah. And you really embrace relationships, right? And the importance of that. So what do you think your overall message is?
I think my overall message is that thinking critically and creatively about this moment that we're living in. I think it's super important to name what's going on. And there's a lot happening socially, economically, politically in the world. There's mass murders, there's conflict in the Middle East. There's a lot of loss. Yeah. A lot of young people told me that they lost someone during COVID. There's grief. Yeah. And I think part of my message is just naming that we're all feeling some pain. We're feeling that heaviness right now. Unfortunately, the society has got this machine where it's like, okay, well, let's be productive at work. Let's do well on the standardized test. Let's move along. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. We feeling some pain. We feeling some hurt, some grief. How do we take a moment and honor that and also embrace a process where we can gain authorship and seeing how the grief can move us towards healing and hope and growth? And so just encouraging the staff, encouraging the students to take a moment to know it's okay to grieve. It's okay to process through this. One of the quotes that I've been sharing is the highest level of grieving is to do something creative with that grief.
Awesome.
So whether it's creating an ofrenda, creating a poem, sharing the story, it's through that we're able to gain meaning and new insights in how the grief might be a catalyst towards change in a positive way. So a lot of it is reclaiming our personal stories. And once we reclaim our personal stories, we can realize collectively the grief and the pain can be turned into propane and fuel towards a new story, towards healing, growth, and thriving. So that's kind of the crux of the message.
I love that. You know, you were speaking at Pace earlier, and I heard a student say, you know what, my takeaway is that there's so much more to wealth than just money.
Yeah.
And I was blown away that this, young boy, 13, 14 years old, got it. He gets it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And I think part of it too is, understanding in this moment, this is the year that we're celebrating hip hop culture turning 50.
Oh, wow.
And we have this saying in hip hop, we made something out of nothing.
Uh-huh.
It was teenagers in the South Bronx, Jennifer, that created this phenomenon that the byproduct became $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
But how did kids in one of the worst ghettos in the country create something that formulates all of this wealth out of nothing?
Yeah.
And I think part of that statement of making something out of nothing is almost teasing the mainstream that doesn't understand there's other forms of wealth.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about community cultural wealth, the wealth of our relationships, the wealth of our sparks and our expression, the wealth of our voice, the wealth that we have to be able to dream. And if we can tap into this wealth, we can tap into our power to go from these actors in somebody else's story to authors of our own stories.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Now, you didn't start, you're a doctor now, but you didn't grow up and your parents said, oh, you're going to go to school, you're going to go to, you're going to go to college, you're going to be a doctor. I mean, that wasn't
Never.
your story. So how did you start out? Were you like the A+ student and involved in all the clubs and all of that?
No, I mean, part of it is, I got this label early on that I was learning deficient. I talked a little bit today that, that assessment was very biased. It was, they didn't ask the question, are you speaking a different language at home? Mm-hmm. That wasn't valued in my school or in the school district. Mm-hmm. And so they just saw my English acquisition was delayed and they say, oh, he's learning deficient. And I internalized that to the point that when my family moved to Texas, south to Houston, and my transcripts hadn't transferred over, I advocated, I said, y'all don't understand, I'm not smart. I gotta be in the remedial classes. So I advocated to be in the remedial classes because I believed this label was true. So for me, a lot of what kept me engaged with school is I'm named after Roberto Clemente, who's the Hall of Famer. He's a change agent. God bless his soul. And so I've been playing baseball since I could walk. My dad is from Nicaragua. He played with the national team. So I was groomed to be a pro ball player. But really it was my experience, with that got me to complete high school. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't ever want to go to school again. That was traumatic.
Yeah.
And my experience with hip hop taught me that I can create, that I can see the world differently, that I can transform my community. And so I thought, okay, if I can transform the community, maybe if I go to college, maybe I can not just be motivated to get good grades, maybe I can be motivated to learn new things to better serve the youth and better serve the community. And then just learning began to awaken for me.
Awesome.
And it put me on a whole nother path. And I started getting all A's in community college, went over to college to get my bachelor's degree, and brought that same kind of hip hop mindset to that space. And as they say, the rest is history.
Awesome. Very good. Well, are you ready for your 5 questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So number 1 is when you were, kindergarten or elementary school, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And, I think for me, I remember when I was a kid, I really loved Legos.
Oh, yeah.
And I would build the thing, that had the instructions. And then I would get so bored, I would take it apart and rebuild something better. And so I was in this mindset, Jennifer, that, you know, I could create something even better than the directions were telling me to create. And I always wanted to be, I was very fascinated by, I love my favorite movies, Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched it probably 30 times. Mm-hmm. And I love, you know, Doc, who is this scientist inventor. And I was like, I want to be an inventor when I grow up. And so I have a whole list of, you know, different inventions.
Oh, that's...
And, you know, and so what ended up happening is I became an inventor, you know.
Yeah.
I invented, you know, as an entrepreneur, businesses and not-for-profits and even my own major and stuff. So,
very good,
yeah.
Very good. So, you know, if you could change your past and the struggles that you had, if you could go back and change that, would you change it?
It's a good question. I mean, I think when I reflect back, you know, I feel like I'm walking in my purpose right now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like to not only walk in your purpose is not just something you do once, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And what I realized, the fuel that keeps me in my purpose is not just my people and my passion, but also my pain.
Yeah.
And I realized that all the painful experiences that I've had actually give me a competitive advantage. Mm-hmm. It gives me insight into how other people are experiencing pain, and the things that have helped me to heal are also transferable in helping other people heal from similar painful experiences as well. So I wouldn't take back anything. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was easy. Mm-hmm. You know, I was telling some of the kids this morning, you know, I ended up growing up in essentially a shack. We didn't have heat. And so I went to bed in the winter with the coat on. We'd have the oven open. You know, I had 2 pairs of pants, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? And just, you know, you make it work. I found out after I graduated from high school, my parents survived off of $10,000 a year.
Wow.
And so for me, what all that did was it also made me extremely grateful. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm blessed now that I own my own home. My parents never owned a house. They still don't. You know, mm-hmm. and so I'm in this beautiful community, but no one in that community, I guarantee it, has the same level of gratitude. You know, I so cherish every little thing so much because I know what it's like to not have it, and that's a gift. I heard once somebody said that if you have, but you're not grateful, you're in the same position as the person who does not have. Oh. And so for me, gratitude is key. Mm-hmm. And I just keep building off of that, and it just fuels me. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So who would you say your role model is, or one of your role models?
I mean, you know, I would say a couple. One is Roberto Clemente. Mm-hmm. You know, he really used his fame to help people.
Yeah.
He actually died trying to bring supplies to people in Nicaragua during an earthquake. Wow. You know, he wanted to see the supplies get there. And he boarded a plane that was compromised, and they never found his body.
Oh, wow.
But to see him use that fame to care for others, he has got a quote. He says, "If you know the good that you can do in the world, but you don't do it, you're wasting your time on earth."
Wow.
And so that's kind of a motto for me.
Very profound.
And then also my brother, you know, as I share the story with a lot of young folks, you know, he only lived to be 8 years old. But in the poem and in my speech that I shared at his funeral, I felt like he showed me more love in 8 years than some siblings share with each other in 80 years. So he just had this relentless love and made the most out of every moment that he had. And that's really taught me a lot too.
Oh, very good. So if there was one piece of advice that you would give to someone who had similar issues and similar background and experiences that you did when they were, you know, in high school, what would one piece of advice be?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I reflect back at my high school experience, Jennifer, it was hard. It was traumatic. There was all kinds of conflict with my parents. My mother was pregnant with my brother. He had Down syndrome. It was really tough. I guess, you know, my encouragement for young folks would be to realize that high school is not forever. And, you know, try to make the most out of it, but just know that even community college or university is going to be a vastly different experience. You know, again, schooling and education are not the same thing. And my encouragement would be, you know, try to find teachers, try to find opportunities to make your learning relevant to your life, relevant to who you are, relevant to things that you care about. And you can continue that, not just in high school, but in college and beyond. As you know, I love hip hop, and I found creative ways to weave hip hop into my studies and my associate's degree, undergraduate degree, master's degree, and PhD. And I became a master of weaving that with education and other things that I cared about. So whatever you're into, find a way to weave that into your research projects, your service learning projects, to your senior theses, to your own major. You can make learning relevant. It's not just on the teacher only, but it's on you as students as well to find creative ways to make that really pop and make that exciting.
So speaking of majors, I was blown away by this, that you created your own major. Your major was social change, youth culture, and the arts, and you created it. So how does one go about, hey, I'm in college, I need to choose a major, there's nothing here, I'm going to create my own. I mean, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, it's, hip-hop culture kind of messed me up in a very positive way. Because as we were working, with kids in the community, and the city tried to shut down our teen center, we created a hip-hop play. I don't know if you've ever seen a play called Hamilton.
Yes.
But we were doing plays like this 25 years ago, telling real stories that were happening in the community. And as a result, from this play, we got invited to the Kennedy Center in D.C., and we raised over $1 million for a new center. So I did all this when I was a teenager. I was like 19 years old. So when I matriculated and transitioned from community college to a 4-year university, I was already in the mindset that nothing was concrete in stone. It was ready to be molded. I was going to be a sculptor. So I went in and I was like, okay, I want to study community development. I want to study ethnic studies. I want to study theater and communication. I needed to learn all of that to fuel what I felt called to do. And they're like, yeah, you got to pick one. You're going to be here for 20, 30 years. And so when I realized that there was even an idea of creating a major, I said, look, I'm going to create something interdisciplinary. This is what we're going to name it. And initially, folks were really against the idea because in our systems of bureaucracy, people are just used to the status quo.
Oh yeah, you got to stay within the lines.
But again, connecting to my community cultural wealth, I had social capital. I had some professors that had my back.
Nice.
I had folks in the community that had my back. So I put together a proposal. I found similar majors at Emory, San Francisco State, and Harvard. I found the breadth and depth requirements, created a proposal. And actually, hip-hop also helped me because I had to battle. I had to battle with the deans and I had to battle with these other professors to defend my proposal.
Wow.
And so eventually they said, okay, we're going to let you do it. And what I didn't realize, Jennifer, is I thought I was battling just for myself. A year after I graduated, the University of Wisconsin-Madison called me up and they said, well, we think your major was actually a really good idea. Can we hire you as a consultant? We want to have a spoken word and hip-hop learning community, give young artists full 4-year scholarships from all over the world to come here and study. And so I ended up co-creating something that has now blessed hundreds of young people and still exists. It's called The First Wave. And if you're a poet or an artist and you want to lean into this and study whatever you want, check that out, First Wave at UW-Madison.
That's just amazing. All right, last question. What is an item on your bucket list that you want to fulfill?
I think for me, again, growing up poor, I never really traveled much. I didn't go to Europe until way later in life. But again, I was so grateful to be able to travel, and I love traveling. We have some partners. I just got back from South Africa a month ago, and that was amazing. Cape Town is the most beautiful place I've ever seen on the planet. So I want to continue building a relationship with that nation and bring my kids.
Oh, yeah.
I want them to be global citizens. I really want to go to New Zealand. So just travel.
Yeah.
And I just think that, to solve the problems in the future that we need to solve, we need to think beyond just our own nation, our own citizenry. We need to think globally.
Yeah.
Things like climate change, things like, global war and other things. We need to realize we're a global village, a global community, and we need to have each other's backs. And I want my kids to feel that deeply. So that's kind of a big thing, is travel, global awareness and global empathy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time
course.
out of your day. I could talk to you all day long. You're
Definitely.
just so inspiring, so positive. And if people want to know more about you, so where can they go to kind of find out? You have a
Yeah,
website,
definitely.
or-
Yeah, you can Google me, Roberto Rivera, Chicago. I'll pop up. There's different keynotes that I've done. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. That's Agape Sphere, AGAPESPHERE. Or you can email me if you want to share a story at roberto@all7g.org.
All right, and I'll include all of that in the link and
Thank you so
everything.
much.
But thank you, and hopefully you will have a great weekend. Happy Friday.
Happy
and
Friday.
We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Deuce. Peace.